knew through the district losses that you still had a good team and the guys kind of weathered some of that storm well, but when did the Dome potential start to feel real? Like you guys were heading to this type of a...
Well, you know, we kind of set sights on Destrehan. And because, like I said that night to you guys, it's a program I highly admire, a program that expects deep runs, you know, often most years after the quarterfinals and on and forward, and a recent state championship. So in being able to go down there and beat them at their place, I think that was kind of the thought. Also looking at Parkway, who was an opponent we were familiar with, and saying, you know, we played favorably with them in the fall scrimmage. I think it was right there that you started hearing the whispers, oh, my parents booked their dome room and things like that. A long way to go from there. You know, we knew that staring it down, we were probably looking at a 2-5A opponent, whether it be West Monroe or Neville. Ended up being Neville. And man, what an atmosphere, you know, like it's hard to beat a Bill Rupel Friday night, you know, semifinal game. And so all of those things, very, very special. I think the community-wise, they probably caught on somewhere around Parkway, maybe the quarterfinal win. But our players, if I had to point at it, it was probably the Destrehan win.
To have to go through 2 district opponents to end this thing, what are the pros or cons of that, of just the level of familiarity that go into now these games?
I think it's the pros and cons may be the same. You know, we are familiar. You know, we do have a film of this is what they like to do to us and with us, offensively, defensively, whatever. But also well, what's the next thing going to be? So I think the pros can be the cons. I think the biggest thing is that just we know what brand of football that we're going to get out of any 2-5A team. Ruston, probably the most prevalent. Really, really great coach team. Got a lot of respect. Obviously went to high school with Coach Ball. Got a lot of respect for him as a man and a coach. He has done a lot to help me along my way, even though he's not that much older than me. He's done it right, and so therefore he's been in some positions early in his career to be able to do that. So I think a lot about the job that he's done at Ruston. You can't scoff at 4 years in a row being in the Dome. So we know it's a smash-mouth football game, you know, and I think that us and them, you know, we were so evenly matched, and we both said that before our first game. Just a punt block is kind of what decided it. And I think you're you know, just as likely to probably see the same type game this week in the championship. And you know, I think for us the pro, and probably he would say it as well, is that, you know, we know what kind of ball we're fixing to play. We're not stepping in there against Edna Carr or somebody and not knowing. We know exactly the DNA of this game and what it takes to win this game, and just how close you can come and feel just devastated when you lose this game.
For y'all being in that stadium for the first time in so long, does the familiarity help in terms of the kids are, when they're going in there for the first time, sometimes it take a second to adjust to all of it, but going in there and not having to also think of who are these guys that were playing from the other end of the stadium you've never seen before?
Well, I think that helps. I was asked that question earlier today. You know, I don't think you can replicate stepping on the Superdome carpet, you know, on the grass. It's a special feeling for a grown man, you know. The lights, I told them the lights are different than any stadium, you know, you played in. Going Friday night, we're going to do that for a while just to get them in the building, and that helps. But look, there's an obvious advantage to having been there and been there last year and in previous years, and their seniors haven't been there 3 or 4 years. So there's an advantage to that. But like anything else, you know, we kind of hit some first this year as a team, and I think as long as we visualize it, we talk about it, we don't ignore it and just leave it and let it be the elephant in the room. We talk about it and try to handle expectations and manage those. I think, you know, while it'll be a little jitters, we'll be able to work with it.
Y'all, had to go through some adversity, and maybe took some time for it to all start to feel real, but y'all saw this potential in this team going back to the offseason, and you'd mapped the 275 and all that. What did you first see from these guys that made you feel like if some things fall in place right and these guys grow right over the course of the season, this is real, this can be real?
Well, I said this earlier today as well. In this day and age, it's so hard, or so, I guess, rare, it would be the better word, to see a team stick together from junior high on. I mean, it's gotten progressively easier to tuck tail and go somewhere if things aren't going your way. There's guys on this team that, were starters in 8th grade and aren't starters anymore, and they're still here, and they hadn't gone anywhere because this group, kind of made a pact back in 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade, Little League, maybe even before that. Hey, we want to win a championship together, and they've stayed together for the most part. And I think that's rare that you see that. And so that was the thing that I thought we could build off the back of. These guys do a really, really good job at once they're able to step back from it, looking at a situation and maybe what caused them problems and being realistic with themselves and having honest conversations with each other. It wasn't always that way. We've had to do a lot of work and learning how to, positively interact while talking about tough situations. But we were able to do that last year. We did that at the very, I guess it would have been the regional round of the playoffs. We're right here in this room, and we're having talks about what caused us to lose out. And it didn't matter if it was to Destrehan or who. We've got a lot of potential in the room. How do we lose that game? And how do we lose the games that put us in the situation when we're playing a Destrehan in the first round? And so there was a lot of honest conversations. And look, I don't just point the finger there. I had to have a lot of honest reflection and, step back some. And I think that the defense operates better, as I've stepped back and allowed Coach Jimmy Sampson to do his thing. And it's just, he's flourished. He's become one of the best defensive minds in the state through the playoffs anyway. And just allowing the coaches to do what God's blessed them to do, those are all things that I had to look at and say, well, what can I do better to help these guys while they're looking at what they can do better?
And I'm sure there's been a ton of excitement with the school community, alumni. We were talking before, there are guys on this team whose dads played and played in the Dome. How do you guys find kind of the balance or juggle of, this is awesome, we did something cool so far, but we got a really big task at hand and just kind of keeping that kind of focus for 4 more quarters? Well,
that starts today, and I told my coaches yesterday, I've got to be a travel agent for about 24 hours, unfortunately, but I'm the head coach, and I hire good coaches so that they can make sure the game plan and the weekly plan is put into action. And I told them I'd be with them, at this afternoon's practice. I would be through with everything, and I will be. And then it's just familiarity, having the same week of practice that we normally have, tack on a little Thursday practice because it's a Saturday game, but doing the same things. And we even started last night just talking about, look, at the end of this, it's going to be a blur, so try to slow down and take it in because this is rare air that you're breathing right now. But also remember that this, at the end of it, is a game, and it's your last one for you seniors. I mean, they've earned that to be able to know what their last game is and when it is. And so I think just doing things, not trying to reinvent the wheel, and recognizing it's still a work week. It's just a little bit different work week that we're able to kind of get the same things we need to done and prepare for this game.